Hi there. Welcome to Infinite Stories. This is the podcast where we sit down and interview everyday people just like you and me. This is your host, Mitchell Vine, and boy, do we have an incredible story for you. Let's jump into this week's interview. Pretend you've never met me in your life. How would you introduce yourself?
I would say, hi, I'm Allie and live here in Colorado. And yeah,
That's a great
I don't know
start.
what else I would
Great
say.
start. It's totally fine. There's no wrong or right answers. I mean, if you completely just lied and said all wrong things, then I guess that would be a wrong
That
answer.
would be messed up, yeah.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't worry about that. Well, then kind of shed the light of the introduction of your story. Like, how does your story begin? Do you have any like early childhood memories, and what does that look like?
Yeah. So I grew up in Georgia and I have an older brother and he's 6 years older than me. And so, yeah, I think my story begins in Georgia, with my parents, with my brother. We lived in pretty like middle class neighborhood and ran around the neighborhood all the time. And my brother would build like jumps in the backyard with his dirt bike, or not dirt bike, his mountain bike.
Yep.
And yeah, there was a lot of like playing in the neighborhood for the first, probably, I don't even know, 8 years of my life. That was,
You just
yeah,
went from
that's what
house
it
to
was.
house playing in all the houses or specific
Yeah, a
people?
lot of the neighbor kids, we would run around, and there's this creek behind the pool in our neighborhood, and we would all just go run around in the creek. And it's very, even before I moved to Colorado and was way more outdoorsy, that was my first, I guess, foray into outdoorsy things, was like literally playing in a creek and rocks and
Nice.
yeah, kind of good old southern life.
Set you on the right path, that's for sure.
Yes.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So
Yeah.
then, kind of looking back at the beginning of childhood, do you have any early memories of encountering sin for the first time or understanding what right and wrong was?
Yeah. So it's funny. I was actually thinking about this morning. Like this memory came to mind that I haven't thought about in a long time.
Hmm.
And this is kind of a side note, but I've been learning how to, I guess, like care for the little Allie that's still in me, like the little 7-year-old
Hmm.
Allie that's still in me and still has thoughts and feelings and lived life and just like
Hmm.
caring for, I guess it's like inner child work. I don't know. I'm still figuring out what I even think about that, but
Hmm.
was thinking about this and I'm I think it was when I was 7. I was in the neighborhood playing with one of our neighbors, and I don't know exactly what happened, but I ended up kind of like walking back down the street to go home, and one of the boys, it was like brother and sister, the brother kind of like came and found me and punched me.
Hmm.
And I remember just being like, that's a really big deal. You're not supposed to hit girls. And also,
Hmm.
you're not supposed to hit me. And you've crossed 2 lines. Um, but yeah, I like that's like one of my earliest memories. And yeah, I think that was probably the first time, at least consciously, I was like, oh, you're not supposed to do that.
Hmm.
And that I think kind of encapsulates sin. It's like,
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
even know why that's wrong. I just know that you shouldn't do that, you know?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
and it was like a true break of human relationship and of trust. And
Hmm.
yeah, I would say that's probably the first time I
Hmm.
encountered sin.
Did you ever interact with him after that, or it was just a random, like, you never saw him again after that?
I think I did interact with him after that. I don't remember
Okay.
exactly what it was like. Like, I don't
Hmm.
remember, I don't know, any sort of reconciliation moment necessarily.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think it was like my mom or dad or someone was like, "You're not hanging out with them anymore," or anything like that. Which maybe actually would have served me well and served them well, but
Hmm.
yeah, I think we stayed friends. So
Hmm. Interesting. Very
yeah.
interesting. Well, then kind of moving into the more middle school years, what was middle school like for Allie? Any memories come to mind?
Yeah, so when I made the transition from elementary school to middle school, moved school districts. And
Oh, okay.
so I found myself at a brand new middle school in sixth grade. And a handful of the elementary schools, I guess, in our area fed into a couple of different middle schools. And so I didn't know anyone there, but um, it was kind of in the same physical area as my elementary school, or like
Hmm.
same town, kind of. And
Yeah.
so I had to like make a bunch of new friends and become, I don't know, my own my own person apart from anyone that I knew in middle school.
Hmm.
And I remember going into sixth grade, like the meet your teacher moment. There was this girl, Kathleen, that I just like saw in, she's going to be in my homeroom class in sixth grade. And I just felt like we're going to be really good friends. And I just knew that.
Hmm.
And I don't know if it was like intuition or what, but I was like, we're going to be good friends. And then we were like best friends for years. And so she's a friend that I made in middle school that, yeah, that was one of the foundational friendships in middle school for sure.
Hmm.
Um,
I'm a bit envious. I've never had something like that. At least
really?
not spanning years like that. No, I've moved around too many times in my life.
Oh,
I've never
really?
been able to keep in contact too well. So,
Wow. How many places have you lived? Do you know?
uh, 3 different states. Um, if I counted towns, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
Wow.
over 10. Definitely over 10.
Wow.
If I did all the math of how many times, even in 2020, I moved in 3 different states. So it's really hard to keep track. I probably should keep track for questions like that, but at least over 10 for sure. I moved
Dang.
every few years, give or take. That's was just the norm for me. So
Wow. I bet that makes you really good at doing what you're doing right now, which is just having like getting to know you, kind of like interview style conversations. You're like, I got 10
sometimes.
locations of this under my belt.
Yes.
So,
Yeah, it's true. But that also, it made me extremely shy growing up as well because
oh wow.
any relationships I would want to make in the back of my mind, I'm like, I'll give it a year or two and then they probably won't be here anymore. So it's like my
Wow.
expectations for relationships definitely, I don't know, they whittled down throughout the years of just like, I've had people just like up and leave without like a moment's notice kind of thing. So like just relationships and friendships,
Mm.
I'm a very skeptical person when it comes to relationships. So if I can hold on to it longer than a year, I cherish those relationships because I'm just like I don't know when they're ever going to leave, but I'm going to talk to them and spend as much time and care for them and serve them as much as I can with however long
Wow.
that I know them for. So yeah, a little bit of my story, but yeah. So
Wow.
that definitely means that I'm envious of a middle school friend that you still have because I definitely. I mean, I might have someone that I could, if I happen to be in town, I could probably drop by, but that doesn't mean like I don't
Right.
know kind of thing. So,
Yeah.
but,
I would say we were really good friends for middle school, part of high school, and then kind of drifted apart in college, or I mean, at the end of
mm-hmm.
high school and into college. Um, but actually, there's a good friend that I have now who was my friend in high school and a little bit into college, but we like grew apart when we lived in Georgia, and then I moved to Colorado, and then she actually moved to Colorado like 2 years later, and now we're really good friends.
Nice.
And so we're like friends since high school with like an 8 year gap in between. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
That's so cool. In middle school, a lot of people typically wrestle with some lies that they might believe about themselves. Was that anything that you fought with? Any lies that you remember fighting growing up?
Yeah, I would say I didn't actually probably think in that language until very recently
Mm.
and start to uncover like lies that I believed about myself and have believed about myself, or even am still working to like unbelieve about myself.
Mm.
That's pretty new work for me. But as I like thinking about middle school, I don't remember what year, but I kind of got into this rhythm with my style that I would wear. I always shopped at PacSun. So I would wear
Nice.
this like PacSun, like Volcom shirt or Ruka shirt, or I don't know, something, which is funny because that comes way back around way later. But anyway, so I was wearing, this stuff from PacSun and jeans, and I would wear a t-shirt and jeans like every day. And I remember someone kind of making probably a passing comment that really stuck with me where they were like, you wear like the same thing every day. Like, switch it up. You wear the same outfit. And
Mm.
it's not that I wore the same actual shirt and the same actual jeans, though that also could be fine. It was just like I don't know, had this judgment of me because I wore the same thing every day. And I think I
Mm.
internalized like, oh, in order to be accepted, in order to be cool or a part of the crowd, I have to come across as like cool and stylish,
Mm.
and that's what keeps me in friendship with people or in relationship with
Mm.
people. And I think I absolutely internalized that in middle school.
Mm. And that carried on, would you
Oh
say?
yeah. Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say that's like something that I'm actively and have been actively like trying to un undo and unbelieve.
Mhm.
Like it would be really nice to be like, and then when I was 16, I knew, but like,
Never happened.
no, that's not the case for me. And so I think like as I've been learning about even the lies that we believe and how long we've been believing them and everything, like I think the process of unbelieving the lies that we
Mm.
believe is a lot longer than I want it to be and than I even thought
Mm.
it would be. Like
Mm.
the start and end of I started believing this lie and then I stopped, I think is like probably lifelong.
Oh
At
yeah,
least for
because you've had
me,
a lot
it
of
probably will
practice.
be. Yeah. Like, great. I've had 20 something years, 20 years of believing this lie, and
Hmm.
it's a lot of practice. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. It comes more naturally, more than we definitely want to admit. That's for sure.
totally.
Well, then let's shift into the high school years. Anything big happened in high school, maybe jobs, relationships, or anything along those lines that shifted your character around?
Yeah. So I think um, another lie that I started believing, I think in high school through like romantic relationships was that um, in order to be like valuable or lovable, I had to be useful. And
Mm.
I think like it's super new for me to even be able to like say that sentence because I didn't realize that for a long time that that's where that
Mm.
started. But definitely started to believe that like if I am useful, I will have value here. And if
Mm.
I'm not useful, I will not have value. And I'll be discarded or um, I'll be not doing what maybe someone thinks I'm supposed to be doing. And
Mm.
that I can trace back to like ninth grade is when I started believing that.
Mm.
Yeah,
Man, and would you say that that lie has carried on too, that you're still undoing that one?
100%.
Mm.
And I think what's tricky about lies, I heard someone say that your biggest lies don't want to be found. Like
Mm.
they want to stay hidden because they're serving you in some way. And so it takes actually like quite a bit of work to even uncover what the lie is that you're believing or the lies are that you're believing so that then you
Mm.
can start believing something different because they don't want to be uncovered. Like they want to
Mm.
keep ruling in the dark the way that they have been for a really long time. Um,
Mm.
yeah, and so I would say it's like pretty recent that I've been uncovering that lie even specifically.
That's good. That's really good. So then what about after the high school years? What changed right out of high school? Any college experiences, any adventures that you got to go on? What kind of developed with your character?
Yeah, so my freshman year of college, I at a Passion conference, if you're familiar with Passion,
Mm-hmm.
it's like big 18 to 25-year-old, 60,000 person conference.
Tons. Yeah.
Yeah, so I went to Passion Conference my freshman year of college, and growing up, I my family wasn't Christian. I think my dad grew up Catholic, and my mom, I think, Lutheran. So I wasn't really raised with a faith at all, really. And then
Mm-hmm.
in high school, I also was a part of Young Life, which was like I loved Young Life, and
Mm-hmm.
that kind of gave me this foundation of like God exists, and God, to an extent, like as much as I could think or believe at that time, like is real. And I was good with that. Like I being in Georgia, it's like the Bible Belt, you everyone kind of goes to church, whether or not they have like a deep conviction about who God is or not. And so
Mm-hmm.
I was in and out of church with like, I don't know, a boyfriend and his family, or with friends or the neighbors, like so many, everyone went to church. And so it was like you spend the night at someone's house on a Saturday, you're probably going to church on Sunday morning. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was in church a lot. And I kind of felt like, man, I feel like I'm more into this than them. And I don't even go here. And so going into my freshman year, I went to Passion Conference, and Louis Giglio, the pastor, was giving the sermon, and he said that he kind of gave this illustration. He was like, imagine your life is like a car going down a road or going down a highway, and whoever's driving is deciding where the car is going and how fast it's getting there, and when you pull over for a pit stop or when you have to take a turn to go around something, like whoever's
Mm-hmm.
driving is deciding all of that stuff. And he pretty simply was just like, who's in the driver's seat? Like, is that you, or is Jesus in the driver's seat? And I remember kind of feeling like, I mean, I go to church, so like I think that makes me a Christian. And like what else? I don't know. It kind of like, I guess, revealed to me that maybe there's something more than just going to church and being a Christian. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and when he gave that illustration, I was like, after reflecting and over some time, a couple of days, I was like, oh, Jesus has probably been in the car, and I'm good with him in the car, but I have absolutely been in the driver's seat. And it was after that conference that I was like, in my view of spirituality, I like got home from the conference, laid down on my floor, lit a candle, and was like, okay, Jesus, you can be in the driver's seat. And I don't know what even that
Mm-hmm.
means really,
Mm-hmm.
but that was like major turning point. And I think the first time that um I don't know, like everything changed kind of after that. And so all of
Mm-hmm.
my college and after college and everything experience was very different from my high school and middle school experience, and even like family experience.
So would you say that would be like a salvation moment, as a lot of people in Christian circles call it?
Yeah, totally.
Awesome. Awesome. So then I am curious then, how did that change everything else? Because as far as the gospel has been explained to me, it bleeds into everything. And you kind of alluded to that. So what changed? What
Yeah.
direction, what desires?
So the one that it feels kind of funny because this isn't usually what most people would say, but I was always like in high school, middle school, I was a decent student. Like I got good grades, but most of the time, especially in high school, I like didn't really care. I was kind of just like, I don't know, I'm in school because we have to be in school. And then
Mm,
going into college, and after then starting to follow Jesus, it was like everything was super interesting to me.
mm,
And my curiosity for anything and everything just like went through the roof. And I think it was because I now had a reason to care about what someone believed, what this book said, what
Mm.
this topic was, or this class was. It was like I was learning all this information and then interpreting it through my new lens of like, this is what I believe is true. This is who I believe God is.
Mm.
And I had started reading the Bible at that point. And so it was like, I would learn something and would be like, well, what does the Bible say about that? And I would learn something. What does the Bible say about that? And I was just filtering all the time. And it made learning so fun. Like I love school now and I love being a student. I love teaching. And I didn't really know that at that point. I was kind of just like, I don't know, you're in school because you're in school. And then being in college after that, it was like everything was really interesting. I loved
Mm.
learning from all my
So it's
classes.
like learning itself got redeemed for you. That's interesting.
Totally. Totally.
Huh. I think I've experienced something like that as well, but I don't think I ever put it into words. So that's interesting that you say that, because like after high school, I never had any desire to do any kind of schooling after that, but I always had a deep desire to learn. I just
Hmm.
that just grew and it festered and it multiplied within me, and I was like, okay, so why would I always want to be learning and yet I have no desire for schooling or college or anything like that? And
Hmm.
people just like kept poking me in pride and just like lean into that. Like that won't last forever. So while you have it, like go enjoy it. And so that's interesting. Like I'm always looking for the next thing to learn, whether it's learning how to do balloon animals or learning whatever it might be. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that's interesting.
that's
That's
cool.
really
I
interesting.
mean, learning in and of itself, I really like the strengths test. Strengths finder is what it's called.
Mm-hmm.
And learner is a strength
I
on
think it is for
strengths
me
finder.
too.
And
Is it
so
is
it's
for
like,
you?
it's in my top five. Yeah. I think
Yeah.
it's, I don't remember what number, but yeah, it's like your strength is in learning, which is just
Mm-hmm.
cool because usually it's like maybe your strength is in teaching what you've learned or in using that, but it's like nope, in and of itself, just learning, you're good at that, which I think is cool.
That's hilarious. So then kind of filling in the gaps of the story then, what happened from freshman year of college to where you are today? Like where is the story gone?
Yeah, so I kind of after I allowed Jesus to be in the driver's seat, I felt like all like leadership positions or skills or things that I had developed just in high school. I worked at Chick-fil-A in high school. I love Chick-fil-A. And so had a lot of opportunity to
Nice.
learn and grow at Chick-fil-A in high school and learn how to be a leader and like a servant leader through that.
Mm,
And it kind of felt like pretty naturally and quickly, it was like, okay, how as a Christian now am I to lead? And so
mm,
very quickly I was given, I mean, leadership positions and leading a small group or leading a Bible study. And I was baby Christian. And so I learned because I'm a learner, I learned a ton and then very naturally would want to teach that, which the people who do that then are kind of just put into leadership positions. And so,
hmm God does
um,
that.
yeah, so that happened a lot. And then I kind of, with that, always thought maybe one day I'll work in ministry. And I don't know when or I don't know how. And I guess we'll just see, was kind of how I felt. And so
Mm,
graduated from college, degree in psychology. And then I started work as a project manager for a couple of years at a software development company. And then I was kind of like, I don't want to be a project manager for my whole life. So I don't know. I guess I'm here until whatever the next thing is. And I always felt
mm,
it's been kind of consistent in my life. Like when there's a next thing that I'm supposed to be doing or that's coming, I'll see it. And so
mm,
if it's like an internship or something, it's like, okay, I think next I need to do an internship. And then I'll like go do an internship. And so when I was a project manager, I was like, this is not the next thing. And I know that. Or I
mm.
guess this isn't forever. And I know that. And also, I don't know what the next thing is yet. And so I was just a project manager. And then January of 2020, the year of COVID, also what
Woo!
everyone called the year of vision, which was crazy. Um, I and you can cut me off if this ends up getting too long because there's a lot of fun
No,
details that I can include or
please go on as long as you want.
cannot. Um, so something that was cool, I read this girl's blog sometime in January of 2020, and she talked about how when we are called to something, we often only see like the silhouette of it for a long time. So
Hmm.
we can kind of see the outline, but it's not really filled in. We can't see the details and it feels kind of far away. And then as we get closer to that thing being fulfilled, the what was once an outline starts like getting clearer. So like if you have a tree silhouette, as you get closer to the tree, you can see the leaves and you can see the colors and you can see the texture of the bark and you can see everything
Hmm.
that was making up that silhouette, but way closer. And so in the blog, she was basically like, this is what it's like when God has called us to something and then we're getting closer to it. And the details kind of just start becoming clear. And so that was significant for me, kind of just in the start of 2020. And then we, as a church, my church in Atlanta, we're doing a 40-day fast. And it wasn't like a food fast, but a 40-day, whatever you're deciding to fast from, social media, whatever.
Hmm.
And it was all around like vision and clarity. And so in that time, kind of with this blog imagery on my mind, I didn't really realize it was going to happen, but this calling to ministry just started becoming clear.
Hmm.
So I got back to work from Christmas break. It was like January 6th, I think, 6th or 7th, and got back. Our CEO had laid off half of the team, and I was part of the half that was remaining. And
Hmm.
then I was like, oh, shoot, I've been praying for clarity and praying for vision. And then that's a really big change. And then over the next week, basically, he and a couple of other people that were on the executive team decided that they wanted to sell the business. And so the next week, everyone was laid off, myself included.
Hmm.
And I was kind of like, I think it felt like one of those moments where I was like, ooh, I'm in the middle of a story. Like something is happening right now. And I don't know where this goes, but like I'm in the middle of a story that is unfolding right now. And
Hmm.
that kind of felt exciting to me. But so after that, I pretty quickly, like within a couple of days, had the prospect of a different job in Atlanta, pretty similar pay, similar position. And I had the kind of a mentor at my job. He was like, hey, I know you have this job and I know it's right here and it's right in front of you. And it's, you could just take this job if you get the official offer and everything.
Hmm.
And he was like, but also, and he was a Christian, he was like, would you just be taking this because it's the thing that's right in front of you? Or is this what you feel like God has for you next?
Hmm.
And in the moment, I was like, yeah, whatever, Jim. I'm totally taking this job. I don't have a job right now. Like, why would I not? And then over the course of a couple of days, I was like, okay, if there is something else, I'm open to that. And
Hmm.
I don't know what that is, but I'm open. Like, God, if there's something else, I'm open. And so over the next couple of days, it was this crazy process of like me feeling like God is telling me to surrender this other job. And I'm like, does that mean I get it back? And it's like, he's not telling me. So like surrender
Hmm.
this job. And then over that time period, um, Colorado just felt like it was put on full display. And
Hmm.
there were multiple ways that that happened, but it was just like, oh, I think God might be calling me to Colorado. And it was cool because for the last 2 years up until this point, I'd had this idea in my mind that like I think one day I'm going to live in Colorado. And I don't know when, I don't
Hmm.
know how. I just feel like
Funny.
I'm going to be in Colorado. Yeah. So then this whole transition happens and I'm like, "Oh, is now the time for that?" And so I kind of started it felt like a crazy idea for a couple of days and then as it all developed, I was like, "Oh, I think I'm going to go to Colorado." And I knew 3 people in the state at the time. And I messaged one of them and I was like, hey, do you know of any opportunities or do you have any job openings or I don't know. And it was Josh Stock, who leads SFC. And
Mm.
he was like, wow, that's weird. I don't know. Let's talk. And so as we started kind of talking, it just was clear that there was a path for me. And there's a path to Colorado and a path into ministry, which I didn't know that was going to happen at that time. And it ended up that the one position that SFC needed to be hiring in at that point, that they weren't even actively looking for anyone, was in like operations and admin stuff, which is my whole skill set from being a project manager. And so
Mm.
it just felt very clear that as I was knocking on doors and as I was like, it's okay if this doesn't work out. I'm not tied to this working out. I'm just
Yeah.
knocking. It became really clear that like, oh, if I want it, there's a path right now where I can move to Colorado. I could work in full-time ministry with Snowboarders and Skiers for Christ. And so I said yes. And that was a crazy process and really scary. People are like, oh, I had peace. And so that's how I knew. And it was not like that for me. It was like, holy crap, this is so scary, moving away, all of this stuff. So I said yes. And then COVID happened, which was
Hmm.
crazy. And so, yeah, then a handful of months later, I moved to Colorado. So
So COVID stopped you from moving then in the initial timing?
it was more, so I had to support race for my position. So I had to
Mm.
go and just share the mission vision of SFC with a bunch of people and ask them to donate to me, or donate to the mission so that I could be on staff basically. And that process actually took months. Like for any normal person, any normal timeline,
Oh
it
yeah.
takes,
Mm.
6 to 8 months. And so I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll be here now to fundraise for 6 to 8 months, which was
Hmm.
when the majority of COVID was happening, at least in Atlanta, which it was still, when I moved, it was still bad. But
Mm.
yeah, so then I moved in August that year
Gotcha.
and
Gotcha.
ended up in
Wow,
Colorado.
that's crazy. Yeah, and so now you're
Yeah,
there, and you've been there for how long then? Since 2020?
4 years. Yep.
Woo! That's so crazy. So I moved to Iowa when you moved to Colorado because our time
Oh,
frame
really?
lines up exactly. Yeah, because I
Cool.
I was supposed to be out in Michigan, and then God picked me up from Michigan, and He put me over in Iowa, and I've been stuck here ever since. I've tried to leave, and it just has
Have
not
you
happened.
actually?
So I have, yes. I've had
Wow.
multiple things line up, and God has just like stiff armed me every time. I'm like, stay where you are. And I said, but it's just corn here. What do you want me to do? And he's slowly doing things here and there, but that just means I interact with a lot of people online. So it's interesting. It's interesting. So that's
Wow.
why I was so excited to go out and help SFC because there's nothing really fun to do out here in Iowa. That's
Yeah.
mountains. It's beautiful. So I could not complain. That's for sure. But
Wow.
that's so crazy. Well, then, kind of as we wrapped up your story there, I have a couple reflection questions that I'm curious about.
Sure.
Did you have any like mentors or guides that kind of walked with you in different seasons of your story? Like, who were they and what kind of effect did they have on you?
Yeah. So my friend Kelly, in kind of the end of high school, beginning of college, we worked together at Chick-fil-A, and then when I kind of started going to church on my own and then went to Passion in college, she was my first small group leader. And I was actually
Mm.
supposed to be in a different girls' small group. And then uh, something happened and they had to like, she wasn't going to be a small group leader anymore. And so they were like, well, we're putting you in this group. And they put me in Kelly's group. And so she has been a huge, huge influence on my faith. And she just really knows Jesus and
Mm.
has known Jesus for a long time. And so she's been a huge mentor, a huge impact on me. And then two of my, like, I guess they were my pastors in college, but also we were good friends, Nick and Natalia. They've had a huge influence on me and have been just big supports in me growing as a leader and growing in the gifts that God's given me and have given me a lot of opportunities to grow and to learn and
Mm.
yeah, in huge ways. Like Nick at one point was like he was like, you're just here at our church, but you so clearly are called to shepherd and to pastor, and you're basically doing that without the title. And so we would love to invite you to be on the team. And it was crazy. I was like, wow, that's one way to do it. But yeah, so they were huge influences in me, and just always, I mean, if you to look at like what does it look like to be a Christian and the character of a Christian and the character of someone who's following
Mm,
Jesus, they all three of them like embody that so well. I've learned a
mm.
ton from them.
That's awesome. So then would you say that because of the effect that they had on you, like you have that desire to do that for other people now?
Um, yes. I think in there it feels like there's a little bit of a gap from like receiving that kind of teaching or encouragement or development from someone, and then
Mm,
actually being able to develop someone in that way. And so I
mm,
think I'm kind of, I feel like in the middle of those two. Like I've received that, and also in some ways I've given that, but I feel like I still am learning what it looks like to be a person who can develop that in someone.
mm,
Um, and I think the model that I've been given for like mentoring in the past, whether through culture or not necessarily even through them, those three people specifically, but is this like you meet every week and it's really structured and it's really like consistent Bible reading time together or prayer time together. And
mm,
I guess I never got the training on like how to do that with someone else necessarily. So I've done a little bit of
mm,
that kind of guiding and mentoring, and
mm,
love that. But it also for me looks a lot more like just being with someone a lot,
mm,
and just the life on life, and how does I read this book called Find Your People, and the
mm-hmm.
author was
Yeah.
like, she was like, do you know, or the people who you're discipling, like they should be able to see what it's like for you to be in a fight with your boyfriend. They should be able to see what it's like for you to go to the grocery store or to dog sit or to, do schoolwork. Like they should be able to see what it looks like for a Christian embodying all that it means to follow Jesus,
Mm,
what it looks like for them to just live real life. And so I think that's more of the approach that I've taken than like a true active guide.
good.
Yeah.
Good. I mean that's more what Jesus did, if I'm being honest. Like
Yeah.
I got to have a season of life out here in Iowa, so I know this is one of the reasons I was out in Iowa. But my good friend, he came up to me and he said that he wanted to purchase a house and he wanted to rent it out to just different guys in different stages of life that just needed a cheap place to live. And he's like, but we're going to be like a Christian frat house and everybody is just going to do what they need to do in the house, but we're all going to butt heads because we're all living together. And so he bought this amazing 7-bedroom house, and it was a really cool season of life. But let me tell you, those are the hardest years I've ever lived in my life because
Totally.
of how involved you get in other people's lives. One of my favorite things was going to the grocery store with a bunch of guys. I thought it was hilarious. But like it was really interesting to have those moments where someone had a bad day of work. Oh, you want to go grab some food? Or, hey, I
Yeah.
really need to talk. All right, let's go for a walk. Hey, I just really want to watch this movie. Should we really be watching this right now? Like having those really awkward conversations that nobody wants to have in their individual lives, we were confronted with them continuously. And by the end of it ended on kind of rough terms, but still, I do believe that God was honored in the time frame that we did as long as we could, which is very
Totally.
interesting. Having people come in not professing faith at all, moving out, and then coming back in, and then moving out and coming back
Mm.
in, and by the third time they were a believer, and it was amazing. So it's like
Whoa.
having those interactions and those relationships, especially with the uh, you how did you say it? You said something along the lines of like organized and like put together. I think the
Mm-hmm.
more unput together we are, the more relatable we are to people, because
Mm-hmm.
anybody who wants to be put together, they typically aren't, and
Yes, that's so true.
resonating with other people in that way.
Yeah.
It was encouraging to me. Most of the mentors that I've had, they would be the ones that like, hey, I'm free in like 10 minutes. Are you? Those are the ones that I typically have. And so Yes, I would love more organization, that's for sure. But you get what you get and you don't throw a fit. A wise person once told me. So I've held
A
on to
wise
that.
person. Was this your mom? Be honest.
No, I used to work at a daycare, and that was something that one of the teachers used to say. And I was like, wow, I'm going to repeat that every day to these kids.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think like
But,
discipleship, I don't know, and being a guide to someone, like I often feel like if someone's looking to me for that, I can like, I don't know, I can try to give them advice in the way of like, the sage that has the answer or something, but
mm,
I often don't. Like I often don't have the answer and I don't know what they should do. And they should do
mm,
what in their faith and development and life and whatever they can discern is the best thing to do. And so
mm,
I think over the last couple of years, I've shied more away from being anyone's guide or being even anyone's like official mentor and more just been like, I don't know if you want to talk about stuff or like process. I had a girl ask me, she's like, we became like besties, but she was asking me before she was following Jesus, like, this is probably throwing a wrench into opening a can of worms, but she was
please
like,
do.
can you, um, meet God through psychedelics. And
Mm,
so it would be very easy for me to be like, okay, well, here's the biblical answer and like,
mm,
run it down and like, don't do that and really just
mm-hmm,
prescribe like this is what you should or shouldn't do. And
mm,
I did not do that. We just talked about it. And I was like, well, these are some things I've heard. These are some things I would consider. These are some things that I know are true. And yeah, I
mm.
don't know. What do you make of
It's
that? And so
discipleship right there.
it was more conversational than it was like me
Mm,
drawing a line and being like, this is what you need to do. You know what I mean?
mm,
So,
mm. I like that. That
yeah,
reminds me of like the Young Life model. I don't know how much you still remember about Young Life, but
totally.
I didn't get to do Young Life. I got to help with Wildlife, the more wild
Oh,
ones, the
yeah.
middle
Uh-huh.
school. So,
Cool.
but I remember just the atmosphere and the direction was like we are not trying to convert kids. We are trying to love them and serve them where they're at and speak truth to them. And if they
Yep.
accept Christ, awesome. That is fantastic. But we are not here to trick them into salvation or like try to shove
Totally.
answers down their throat. It was a very, very relaxed approach that I think a lot of people would benefit from because there are so many different roads to salvation. Yes, it's got to be through Jesus, so he is the one road, but there's a lot of different ways to bring that up in conversation. And God is a master conversationalist, and because of the Holy Spirit, he does a lot of that apart from us anyway. So we don't even need to do that much. We just need to show up. So that's
Totally.
really awesome. I appreciate that little snippet of a story because I can think of tons of conversations that I've had with people. Are just like, so what's the difference between worshiping God and Satan? And like conversations that a Christian would be like, well, what do you think, you idiot? When
Right.
in reality, it's like that's a good question
Let's
because it
talk
is.
about
It
it. Yeah.
really is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like let's just talk about that and not come away thinking, wow, he hates my guts because I'm worshiping Satan and not his God. No, I'd be a little concerned for your soul altogether, but at the
Right.
same time, that doesn't make me love you less because of that. But that's so awesome. I've got a fun question for you. Okay.
Okay.
This one,
Ready.
uh, don't worry too much because there is a right answer. No, there isn't. But are you more of a book person or a movie person? If you could only have one for the rest of your life.
Oh, geez. That's hard.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I probably watch more movies than I read books,
Okay.
but I don't think that that is like what my whole life should be. So I think I would say a book person.
Okay.
I would
Fantastic.
have
Well,
books.
follow up question.
Okay.
If someone would write a story about your life, what would you want it to be called?
I want to say like work in progress.
Ooh,
um,
good title. Why?
but also like, like I think of that verse in Ephesians. like handiwork. We are God's handiwork, or we're God's masterpiece. So maybe like
Hmm.
handiwork in progress or
Handiwork. Oh, I like
masterpiece
that.
in progress. I just came up with that, handiwork in progress. Yeah, I think that's what it
That's
would be.
good. That's good. Write that down. Don't forget
Handiwork.
that.
I was thinking work in progress, but I like handiwork better.
I do too. It's more personal that way.
Yeah.
That's good. Are you a writer by chance? Like, is that book a possibility?
I am kind of a writer.
Okay.
I had a dream the other day that someone said to me, "Hey, I just bought your cards." I have these cards
Yep.
that I sell. You know about them?
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember what we talked about, but yeah, he said, "Oh, one of my friends bought your cards, and they bought your book too. I didn't know you wrote a book." And this was a dream that I had like a couple of days ago, and I was like, "Am I going to write a book? I might write a book." So I don't know.
I mean,
We'll see.
at this rate, you might as well.
Might as well. I had a dream about it, so I didn't know you had a book. So yeah, we'll
That's
see.
awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. Oh, I'll have to put a link to those cards in the podcast description. So
Yeah.
anybody, do you want to talk about the cards? Like, what are they? I know what they are,
Yeah.
but other people listening don't.
Totally. So the cards it's called Names, and you can find it on Amazon. And Names is essentially like a 52-week card-based devotional that allows you to reflect on the character of God through his names in scripture. So, like Jehovah Jireh, the Lord will provide. That card it has Jehovah Jireh on it. It has the what's the right word? Translation, like the Lord will provide. And then the verses in the Bible where Jehovah Jireh was first mentioned. And then on the back is like a verse from that passage that you can have as a memory verse for the week. So it was kind of developed as a companion to, if you like to do a Sabbath practice, a companion to your Sabbath, because it's one per week of the year.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Names.
Fantastic. Where did that spawn off of? Like, is there a story behind the cards? Why did you do that?
Yeah, so I actually had been writing a devotional for about 2 years. And I had the whole thing done, had a couple of people test it. I got mixed feedback on the test. And I was like, I don't know what to do with that. Met this girl on a chairlift. Super random. Oh, actually, no, it was not a chairlift. Someone else met her husband on a chairlift. And then I met her at Bible study. And she just started asking me about, my devotional and different things because I brought it up. And she has a pretty successful business selling on Amazon. And so we started trying to type in, like, okay, if you were to sell this on Amazon, what would you type in? And so I was like, I don't know, devotional cards, something like that. And basically all that came up were scripture memorization cards. And it looked like they were kind of just selling really well and really popular. And she was like, have you ever considered doing something like this that's a little more simple and it's just scripture memorization or something like this? And so I thought on that and kind of mulled it over for literally a couple of weeks. And then I woke up one day and literally had the idea like fully baked in my mind and was like, I'm going to do cards with names of God. Yeah, it was crazy. People are like, did you just wake up and decide to whatever? And I'm like, yup, I woke up and I had this idea. And so, yeah, so then I spent a couple of months like getting together all the content and then it was crazy. A designer that I worked with at my old job when I was a project manager said that he would do the design of it for free. And then he helped me with the design for free. The girl who had the Amazon business, Amber, coached me on getting the product on Amazon for free. And she has like a really expensive coaching business. And she was like, no, I'll just give it to you for free. And so, yeah, it was pretty crazy. So over the course of 6 months or so, it was like an idea on Amazon for Black Friday, which was awesome.
Wild.
So, yeah, it was super fun.
Wild. Yeah, I remember seeing the designs of the cards at the conference itself. And I was like, man, I wish I brought cash with me. But now I remember that's on Amazon. So now I've got even better excuse. So
it's on Amazon.
I don't have a better excuse. So that's awesome. Fun. That's awesome. Well, I only have 2 more questions and you're almost done. Next question would be, how would you encourage someone who is scared or intimidated in sharing their story?
I think something that comes to mind is the verse in Revelation that says, like, they overcame the enemy or overcame evil
Mm-hmm.
by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony. And I think oftentimes it feels like if we're going to teach something, we have to have it really like buttoned up and really like the story has to be completed. And something I've definitely learned is that the story does not have to be completed in order for it to be encouraging or to give insight to someone or to give someone like this experience of like, oh, wow, I'm less lonely, that you also have had that happen or you've also experienced that. Yeah, it just doesn't have to be completed in order to be ready to share. And humility and like the being in process of it all is what I think earns trust with a lot of people. And even like being scared to share your story and saying that while you're sharing your story builds trust with people. And yeah, I think it goes a long way to kind of, I guess, be vulnerable in that process. And then the other thing that comes to mind is that I've just learned a lot through, I guess it's partly through marketing, but the idea of story brand by Donna Miller is like, we are all wired for story. And Brene Brown talks about that too. Like we are all wired, our brains are wired to make sense of everything through the frame of a story. And so, yeah, that would probably, sharing a story, even if you're scared or even if it's incomplete, is like the preferred way that our brains even want to learn. And so I would say send it.
Awesome. Yeah, send it. Fantastic. Well, then one last question then. Do you sense anything else that the Holy Spirit wants you to share on behalf of anybody who'd be listening to this?
Can I take a moment?
Yes, please.
Great. I feel like the Holy Spirit's just saying, I love you and I care about you. And for anyone that's listening, like that's true. He loves you and he cares about you. Period.
And we forget that too much. That's for sure.
Totally.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time, Allie. This has been an amazing interview. I hope it has been amazing for you. I've enjoyed listening to your story. It's funny when you know somebody for a decent amount of time, but then you're like, I don't even know their story. So like even sharing what I did about like moving so many times in my life, you're like, oh, wait, really? I'm like, yeah, not everybody knows that about me. So that's, I really appreciate you sharing what you did story-wise. And I guess technically I accidentally lied. I have one last question. Can you pick a number between 1 and 10 for me?
Oh my gosh. 6.
6. All right, good number. So what we're going to do to end the podcast is high five each other.
Okay.
And in the process of we'll count down from 6. And then at the last number, we're going to high five the camera to make it look like we're high fiving each other. Okay?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Thank you so much for listening to this week's Infinite Story. If it resonated with you, send it to someone you think would be blessed by it. If you would like to share your story, please reach out to us at infiniteideas.studio. You never know how far the impact of your story can reach. Take care now.